Okay, so the next one we're going to do is this one. Okay, so again we're going to have some doorbell work, and we're going to have a bit of bling. And as I say, this stamp set here was from the from this one. Oh, what fun! Came out last year. As you can see, we've used it quite a bit. It is photopolymer, so it does stain like that. Don't panic. It doesn't affect anything in any way. So in your kit, you will have received some sequins. This is the new mini sequins. They're brilliant. I love them much better than the big ones. I think they're much easier to put on cards. You'll also have received some silver foil bases and another stitched framelit that goes like that, and you'll have received a pack of 3 different strips of this designer series paper. Everything, all the cards that I make are using the Be Merry designer series paper, which is in the current catalogue actually, and I really like it. It's got some really good traditional Christmas symbols and emblems on it. So you've got one with mittens, you've got one with little reindeer on, very Nordic I think these are, and then you've got one with trees. Now I did mine that way or that way, I think that way, but to be honest, if you didn't like those designs, you can mix and match them with the ones that are on the back. These ones are just a little bit plainer, so you know, maybe you don't like the mittens, so you want to go reindeer and stars, in which case I would move the stars over so you had the green in the middle. It's entirely up to you. The reason why I did it the other way round was because we're going to put that on a cherry cobbler base. So you should have received also your cherry cobbler layer to go on top of your Whisper White. And again, if you were doing this at home and not as part of my stamper stack, so obviously this class in a box is part of my stamper stack, so the girls are trying to put together 15 cards in 3 hours, which is a bit, you know, it can be a bit tight. But if you were at home, you might want to emboss this backing. You could do it with the holly, you could do it with the snowflake, you could do it with, you know, softly falling, you could do it with pretty much any of the Christmas embossing folders. You know, you could even do it with a cable knit if you wanted to, and then that could go behind the scenes, as it were, that you're, you know, behind here, because you are going to see quite a lot of this back. Or you could stamp it, you know, that's the other option that you can always do. So don't feel that you need to stick with what I've done. I just did it plain and simple because it's part of my stamper stack. So, you know, rock on and do whatever you fancy with that. Now, you will need your 2 ink pads. That's getting a lot of glare, sorry. Your cherry cobbler and your garden green. And you'll have a piece of this Whisper White in here as well, long strip, that's for your wording. And of course your Whisper White card base. So let's go ahead and start putting this together. I'll whack this over. I've moved where I do my filming. I now do my filming downstairs. I used to do it upstairs on Sean's, where he does all his photography stuff on his big desk up there. But actually this is much handier because I've got everything around me. I don't have to take it all upstairs and lug it all back downstairs again. So that's quite good. But it does mean I'm have slightly less space. So, you know, you win some, you lose some. Now, on these ones, I would actually, yeah, you can use fast fuse, and I have personally used fast fuse. But if you want to have a little bit more wiggle room, then I recommend you using Tombow, our multi-purpose. And again, you just need a little bit at the top, a bit at the bottom, and a kind of a squiggy in the middle, just a little bit in the middle. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to line this up. So again, grid paper is your friend. Line that up there, and then I just line that up top and bottom, and this helps me to get that straight. And again, that's why I like a little bit of wiggle room when I'm doing this. Really should have put my glasses on. After that, it's not so hard because you've got a line to go with all the way down, but it's that first one that always makes it a little bit trickier. So again, line it up one against the other, make sure it's in line at the bottom. There we go. And then your smitten mittens. I mean, they're not smitten mittens, but I can see that they've obviously thought of the whole, you know, they're so clever at Stampin' Up. They always plan ahead. So there's a smitten mitten set in the new catalogue, and this is obviously in the main catalogue, but you can just tell that they They were thinking you could mix and match this with the Smitten Mittens in the annual in the autumn winter catalogue so easily. I love that about Stampin' Up. Coordination is just comes without thinking. It's great. Okay, so let me stop waxing lyrical about that. Let's get on to the stamping. So we're going to get our daubers out again, our cherry cobbler and our garden green, and you can mix this up any way you want. I just decided that I was going to do the words in red and the baubles in green, but you could have it the other way around. It's irrelevant. In fact, why don't we do that now? So I'm going to this time do the baubles in red. So make sure you've got your red. Start up on this one. Okay, and don't worry if you go over the line, because you can just wipe that clear before you do your green bit. Okay, and then up on here. And you see, you can be quite delicate, or you can just whack it on. But you do need to just make sure you've covered your edges. And if you find that you have a problem with pressure, that you always put too much ink on your stamps, then using daubers is a great way of, it takes a little bit longer to do, obviously, because you're not you're not just whacking it on and going. But if you're going to get better results every time, then it might be worth it for you to think about that. So this way you have much more control over what you're doing with the ink, and you don't have to be so concerned about getting an even pressure, because you're just dabbing it on. Now I've purposefully gone over a little bit there because I know that that's quite close to the edge, and I want to make sure that I'm getting that in. Or even go for right markers. Markers are great too, because they're even easier. You just whack it straight down and just draw on it and paint on it as if it's using a pen. So that also works. Okay, so then what I would do is I would just clean up my edges here, because you don't want to leave a smidge when you stamp that down. Obviously you could use a tissue, you don't need to use your fingers. That's just me. Now you know how I end up with ink all over myself every time I do something. Okay, and then you're going to do the huff again, just to make sure you haven't got ink over your fingers when you move your white piece around there. That's the important bit. Huff it. And all that's doing is just making sure that the ink's nice and juicy when you come to stamp it. I kind of worked out that I've got a little bit of a gap at the top there, so I can just, and I did them sort of over this side a little bit. There we go. Ooh, there we go. That looks quite nice too. Okay. And then we're going to do our Merriest Wishes. So this is now going to go in green to be different to the other one. Now this, you can use the triple banner punch. I left you lots of space because it depends on how you stamp it and whether you're happy with your first attempt or not. So again, you can either do it by hand or you can do it with the triple banner punch. You can move this around. If you look at it from the bottom, then you can kind of move around to wherever you want it to be. So that should be all right. I could have probably left a little bit more, but never mind, that's fine. You do want to leave a little bit on this side because you want to make sure you've got enough room to put your glittery sequins on. So sometimes doing things by hand is actually better than doing them with a punch, but it works either way. And then you get your little ends left. Right, so now what we need is we need to start assembling. So we're going to go, oops, fast fuse on here, pop that onto your silver circle. I know everyone's going, oh, but look at all that silver you're hiding. Yeah, I know, but you need a good firm base if you're going to stick anything, up. In this case we're not, but even so, you need a nice firm base. You've got you don't want to cut out a hole and then have the white showing through, especially in this case, because what it's showing through would be those reindeer, and that's quite a lot, so I don't agree with gutting. Perfect. Okay, so then we need the sequins. What have I done with them? There they are. And I've given you enough to do this. You just wrap it over your finger, so you've got like a, I don't know, three fingers width. That's all you really need. Cut that off. Don't stab yourself in the finger while you do it. Ow. Oh yeah, bleeding. Cut that bit out. Okay. Make sure I'm not going to bleed everywhere. Yep, that's good. Okay, see, I knew I should have put my glasses on this morning. Right, so then if you don't have, if you didn't get while it was still around the Stampin' Up stapler, don't worry, you can get a craft stapler from places, artist shops and stuff, or you can just use a regular stapler. You know, if you go into Ryman's or any stationers, you can get like a kiddie's stapler, which is like the little ones. They work too, just as well. There we go. So yeah, that now sticks on there. Okay, I'm going to pop this on my base before I glue that on, and again I just did flat. Don't need masses of this. I always like to have at least two edges though quite well down. And then this is how I do it. I kind of line up my base, because I figure if my base is straight, then the rest of it should be straight too. Mostly it works. There we go. Alright, so that's that piece, and then you just need some dimensionals. Again, I don't know how many times I've said dimensionals in this video, probably quite a lot, but they are brilliant. And then I don't like sagging. We don't like sagging in any way, shape or form on cards. It just doesn't look nice. There we go. Now pop that on. Oh, I probably need to actually chop off a bit of that. That's a little bit too long. Is it? Maybe I should stick it at a jaunty angle. No, I think it might just about work. Yeah, just make sure that, not like me, that you make sure beforehand that that's going to fit. There we go. If that looks a bit blank, I might put some stuff over there. You can always get a few sequins off at the end and pop those on, but in your kit you will also have little rhinestones. I've got the old dregs from the old set. You guys have got the nice new ones where you don't have to actually get them off the thing yourself. And I just popped these in the middle of my baubles, and I think that just finishes them off beautifully. So there you go. So that's your final third card done. I hope you've enjoyed those. I hope you enjoy making all of those, and that gives you a good starting point for your Christmas cards this year. And you've got you ahead of the game in September with a nice stack of Christmas cards all ready to send out. So thanks again for having the class in a box, and tune back in soon for my next one. Thank you. Cheers. Bye.